I'm Kyle Malnati, your host of the Calibrate Real Estate Podcast. At Calibrate, we exist to help people create generational wealth through real estate. My personal mission is to encourage, empower, and educate you by sharing best practices from business leaders that are proven winners. Welcome back, Calibrate crew. This is another episode, a huge episode, episode 200 of our podcast. And I can't think of anybody better to have on the podcast than Jocelyn Vas. Jocelyn, welcome to our show. For those of you that don't know Jocelyn, she is the Chief Knowledge Officer, or CKO, of a company called Final Offer. But she's one of us. She's a realtor and she's been practicing for many years. She is actually from my hometown, Washington, D.C. and the associated areas. A lot of people will call it the DMV. That's not Department of Motor Vehicles. It's Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And
DC, Maryland, and Virginia, not
oh,
Delaware.
is it? Oh my gosh. Well, look, that's how long I've been gone. It's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Why doesn't anybody want to include Delaware in there? Could be dual. Jocelyn, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
For those of you that have never heard of Final Offer, I hadn't. And it was just 2 weeks ago, we were at our Kentwood DTC meeting. And a lot of times when we have meetings, we have special guests and speakers. And a lot of times they're from Colorado. I happened to bump into Jocelyn and her coworker in the conference room area before the meeting started. And we were just chatting. We found out that we're from similar areas. And Final Offer is this fantastic program. I come from commercial real estate, and it reminds me a lot of your call for offers process or best and final. And in real estate, especially residential real estate, sometimes the transparency isn't always there. I think the games that agents play, Jocelyn, can get in the way. And I think our clients ultimately want a transparent process, which is what I can tell Final Offer is. Why don't we talk a little bit about what Final Offer is, how you became involved from really its infancy, and why it's going to change the real estate industry?
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick overview of what it is. I mean, think about Final Offer as filling the void in a lot of data and information that's missing. So traditional process is we put a home on the MLS, it syndicates to all the other third-party sites, and an alert goes out when it's live on the market. Then there might be an alert that goes out if you drop the price or there's a price increase, right? And then it's gone, and an alert will go out then. And so where we as a company are filling the gap is every single time an alert goes out when an offer is actually made on a property, which doesn't exist today. And a lot of buyer agents, including myself, often, question, was my offer presented to the seller? Are there other offers on the table? What do those offers look like? Right? These are the questions that come up really, really often. And for the first time ever, we're giving that information back where a listing agent would manage the offer process through our system so that anybody, consumers, agents, nosy neighbors, whomever, can literally opt in for text message alerts and email alerts and get notified every single time an offer is made on that property to drive urgency back to that listing. So it's this really cool disruptor in the industry, which is why I got involved, because I think it's really fun to bring real technology into our business, which has very limited technology in general, right? I know we're always afraid of technology, but imagine technology that actually fills this void, but makes business easier to do, and use it as a marketing tool to really differentiate yourself and grow your business by talking to the consumer about something they care about. Right. And so what neighbor, for example, wouldn't want to know every single time an offer is made on their neighbor's home? It's giving them information that me as a listing agent can go invite them to follow along and pick up a new listing by doing something different and more. And so the concept is really getting the seller the best outcome, generating high intent, high value leads with our cool sign riders of get offer alerts for the first time ever, scan this QR code, and then winning more business and all that really great stuff. And so it's really fun. I got involved. I've been an agent for 17 years in the DC metropolitan area and West Virginia. So not Delaware, but West Virginia. Added that one into the mix. And I was always looking for something more, right? I was always looking to enhance the experience for my clients. So after being a real estate agent for 8 years, I decided to become a therapist, which every single agent listening right now will say, oh, I'm one too. It's like, no, I actually paid for the degree out of pocket and am literally a licensed therapist who worked 1 day a week at a hospital helping on the crisis floor and then went into private practice during COVID. And really, I did it all though, because I felt like there was so much need to make it a better experience for my clients, whether buyers or sellers. I never felt great telling a buyer, we're going to guess what it takes to win this home and hope that you win, right? I felt like I did a great job convincing people to overpay for properties in the guessing opaque game that it is today. And so when Final Offer came to town, I had no interest at first, then had a stale listing that had been sitting on the market for quite a while. And I was really nervous I was going to get fired because I had already gotten my 2 price reductions. And usually, after requesting those 2 price reductions, they usually fire their agent and then go take the next agent and do that price reduction that you always wanted with them. And ultimately, I brought it to Final Offer and I used the system in a way that created urgency. And I got 2 people to come in and bid the property back up. And so ever since then, I just said, I got to be a part of this. Let me disrupt the industry and do more.
Jocelyn, that's fantastic. And I can see from a buyer's agent's perspective, from a neighbor's perspective, and even from the buyer's perspective, that that all sounds amazing. Now, I was part of a presentation where I saw you pitch this to our audience of my own office, and not a lot of people knew about it. And I could see a lot of, we'll call it traditional realtors
Yes,
squirming in their
I
seats.
know. Me too. I saw
So
it all.
and you've done this more than a couple of times, I know. So why should the seller's agent not be concerned about final offer taking over? And then a dovetail question or a subordinate question to it would just be, does this replace what we're doing in the multiple listing service or our contract software? How does how does it practically interlace with the process?
Yeah, so every single time a listing's entered onto the MLS, it automatically syndicates to our site. So same concept as Zillow, Redfin. It's a search engine where consumers, agents can come, but you're getting more information than you can get on any other site, such as when an offer is made on a home. There's other alerts that we have that agents can manipulate to move a cold listing or, get a better outcome for a seller, create urgency even when there might not be urgency. But same concept, Redfin, Zillow, but we're actually bringing people to a site that's branded to the agent, right? Instead of our clients, you know how many times I hear from agents, I set up my clients on a safe search on the MLS. And then I say, so do they send you Zillow listings? And they're like, yes, every time, right? And no offense to Zillow, but they're trying to get rid of us. So my thought of what we've built is that it's all agent focused. So anybody that tries to do certain behavior on our site, those leads go back to the listing agent. If they're, if they say they don't have an agent on our site. And so we're driving leads to the listing agents versus the opposite, like every other site. We're not a brokerage and we're not discounting our fees. We're really putting the agent front and center throughout the whole process. Now, squirmy agents, I hear you. Technology is scary, but I don't know about any of you. Before we even had Showing Time, Broker Bay, or whatever you use, does anyone remember calling 1-800 CSS asking for 10 showings to get set up? They'd be like, hello, Jocelyn, what would you like to see today? And I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 listings. They're like, let me put you on a hold and call the listing agent or the seller and take 10 minutes, maybe 20, to get your whole schedule set up. Then this simple technology, which is similar to Open Table, comes about, like Showing Time, and we're able to do things more efficiently and effectively. So that's really the concept too, of creating efficiency and actually infusing technology into our business, which is required, everybody. I mean, we could sit here and say, go away AI, go away technology, but the truth is it's here. We're not going to get away from it. And how can we really, join forces with the one that's elevating the experience for all parties involved, making buyer agents look better, and giving really a new talk track? That's the biggest thing for me. I am sick of the same conversation of, whatever doesn't keep you up at night is what we're going to escalate to. Right? I mean, how silly is that? You don't need to work with me if you can play a guessing game, right? So often my clients will say, well, that sold for 1 million. Why are you telling us to go to 1, 2? Well, you never know if someone's going to be crazy. I'm like, how is that? How is that what I say? I'm an expert and I'm about to get paid for that. Like, truly, The conversation needs to be a little clearer, and final offers bringing more clarity where for the first time ever, we now know that our offer was presented to the seller in real time. I mean, that's a real question. Oh, and also for the first time ever, we know when and if another offer comes in. And on the listing agent side, it's a brand new talk track. Someone comes into an open house, instead of being like, "Ooh, please sign in. Do you have a real estate agent? Where do you live? What are you looking for?" You're saying to them, "Hey, scan this QR code, and for the first time ever, you're going to get an alert when an offer is made on this home. And I believe you should always know everything going on with a property. Even if you don't like this home, it's good to understand market conditions." Right? So I'm just building these high value, high quality leads from just a different talk track that gives me confidence and my agents confidence on my team to actually convert.
There's so much in there that I heard and I cringed because I'm like, that's me.
I
How
know.
many times have I come to a property, whether it's commercial or residential, and I see that intentioned neighbor, that's watering their lawn or that's putting their trash back in, and I'm getting the lights on or I'm waiting for a showing, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? Where are the offers? How are the offers? What's it been like?" And I'm like, don't represent you. You seem nice, and especially if it's in my sphere, or it's in my geographic farm. I might say, "Hey, I want to tell you some more details, but wouldn't it be better if we have that talking point where I could say, actually, instead of having to constantly just bump into me, you can scan this QR code. It's on the sign writer, or here, just scan it right here." And everybody got really comfortable with that during COVID. So that just immediately, I think, creates efficiency. And then last night, I'm presenting not one, but two offers on a property that I've had on the market for a month and a half. We've gone to about 40 showings now at this property. It's a listing of mine. And for whatever reason, something opened up in the clouds yesterday, and I got two offers from two people that I haven't been actively communicating with. Wouldn't it be awesome if all other 38 agents and their buyers and anybody else that registered knew that? And further, wouldn't it be awesome if I didn't have to do that at 8:30 at night? Like, how cool is this? I mean, this sounds like it solves so many problems. Why did you come to this team? And I know you said you had a stale listing and you're really trying to get it
Yeah.
revamped, but now that you're a part, you're in the fold. What do people need to hear about final offer that helps them understand that this isn't a gimmick? It's not a
Yeah.
last ditch effort. It should be the beginning of the process.
Yeah, so 2 points to that. One, about like your example, is that for the first time ever, everyone's getting the same information at the same time, and that includes consumers, right? When you call even for an offer deadline, let's say, and maybe you did on this example, you go into Showing Time or Broker Bay or whatever messaging system you use, which alerts only the agents. You then go on the MLS and you might put it into your public remarks section, which does not have an alert, by the way. You're just hoping people go back to that listing to see what's going on. That's it. With our system, you can add an offer deadline, just a traditional offer deadline of 10 a.m. on Monday, like you always do. And for the first time ever, it's alerting the agents who saw the property, consumers, and everyone following along. So the idea too is everybody gets the same information at the same time. And Kyle, you probably could have created some competition and maybe even gotten more offers had you been using our system with your listing that had been sitting on the market.
Now, I will say that I've used showing time for sure. That is definitely an element. I also send that same all points bulletin to a database that I've been curating for 10 years. It started with 15,000 people in it, and it's as people unsubscribe, which is fine. That's a yes or no vote. I'm good with the unsubscribe. It's down to about 5,800, but I do send that out as a marketing opportunity. And I often get that head tilt that my Labrador Retriever gives me when I tell agents that I market the fact that I got offers. They're like, why aren't you haggling with the other agent or negotiating it? And I'm like, because this offer is a sales opportunity. This offer is an education opportunity. So I love that you're taking a process that is clunky for me. I'm on different platforms. They're not stitched together, they're not synced up, and you're making it way more efficient. So that's really cool
That consumer. Mm-hmm.
on the front end of the process, because I agree. I was very much in the shoes that you described this time last year. big high profile listing. I'm super embarrassed to say that after lots of open houses, lots of showings, we got 4 offers. I ended up getting fired. I ended up getting fired or not renewed is probably the way to look at it. But your services are no longer necessary
Hmm.
at the end of my listing term. And if I had final offer, that's why I'm a little embarrassed. I may have won that process because both both sellers, the couple that I was selling for, high education, have lived on both coasts, very tech savvy, very tech oriented, and they wanted the data. I could tell that they felt like, whether they said it to me or not, that I was sort of a roadblock in the process with them, even though I was doing my best. And so there was always this friction because they had already moved out of town, and they just wanted to know what was going on. They wanted to know it was transparent. So I love this. Now, how does someone sign up? I mean, is it easy to do? Is it hard to do? Do you have to do it for everything?
So two things about that, and I'm going to jump into the psychology, right? It's very, and blame what is the saying? Blame the delivery man or blame the messenger, right? Very often as a real estate agent, we are providing the information, delivering information. We're in between our clients and information, whether we're representing a buyer or seller. And that's a problem, right? Because we are the first people to be blamed for anything going wrong, right? I mean, I'll never, someone says, oh, my HVAC broke after we closed. I'm like, here's $10,000. That's like where my brain goes. I'm like, I don't want to be the problem, right? But it's about bringing the consumer into the mix so that they can see it to believe it. And very often, especially in a colder market, I'm able to get my clients to understand that it's not my fault that their home isn't moving because they're a part of the process in a way they've never been before. Um, so that was sort of number one for me. You asked me earlier, and then we'll talk about signing up, but why did I join and get a part of this more? And I think this is super important. So besides having a stale listing that I was able to move, for me, not only do I love the team at Final Offer, which our founder is a real estate agent out of Massachusetts, who biggest reasons he started Final Offer was one, he was sick of Zillow taking the leads on his listings and selling them. Totally get that. And having some young brand new agent come up to his $3 million listing that knew nothing about it, but that consumer thought they did, right? That was number one for him. Number two is he always put his clients first. And he is a fierce negotiator, not as good as me. I shouldn't be saying that publicly to all my clients here, but fierce. And it was not about who he knew in relationships. It was about getting the best outcome for his clients. And he would see time and time again closings occur at a lower price than what his clients offered. And so he just started calling sellers and saying, did you get our offer? Did you know we, did this X, Y, and Z for our offer? And they say no. And he was like, that's it, I'm done. So from that buyer agent perspective, that's why he sat down with our tech founders and said, we need to build technology over this to make it a clearer experience, because right now the consumer is the one getting screwed and it's not okay. So that's part one. Part two, I loved the team. I also just truly had a lot of, they listened to me. So back in the day when Final Offer started, a bunch of agents, there's probably 10 of us, financially even invested because they were interested in what we had to say. And we'd sit around a table and eat lunch every week at a hotel. And they'd say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'd say, no, I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. And they just listened to me, and then they do it within a week. And so we push out product development things, like little tweaks to make it even better every single week. And it's all based on agent feedback. So I talk to agents, like right before this podcast, I was on I call it the tech dump call, where I speak agent and say, hey, geniuses, take this information and go put it in technology. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever you say. And so that's why I got involved, because, and again, as a therapist, like, I feel like I understand the masses of my colleagues. Like, I know what we need, I know what we don't have. We even built a pre-market functionality. Compass is obviously pushing that aggressively across the country, and it's working. Like where I live, you will lose a listing and you will lose a buyer if you're not talking about having access to this other market that exists, or marketing in a home initially to get feedback, test pricing, and know how to come to the open market the best way possible. So we built that because that is a piece of technology that every brokerage should have access to. And we built it really cool, even better, and have even more ability to drive consumers to our site and bring leads in on those pre-market listings. So, with all that said, to sign up, we are not live in Colorado. So, to my Colorado people right now, we are coming live mid-October, but we are live in 18 states and 2 provinces in Canada. You can sign up directly on our site, finaloffer.com, as an agent or as on a monthly subscription basis. You can also do it for just a listing, and you can also do it for a team. And then we have brokerage accounts and enterprise deals as well.
Okay, Jocelyn, this sounds amazing. But to the skeptic out there,
Yes.
and there are skeptics out there, will this replace me as a seller's agent?
Yeah, I just feel like everyone thinks technology is going to do it. It brings me back to showing time when like everyone freaked out. They were like, "We are not using showing time." I'm like, "Let's just keep calling 1-800 CSS forever."
Or
Is
the or the boogeyman Zillow. I mean, that's the other one that everybody like fights tooth and nail.
Yeah, so we're backed by NAR and their REACH program. We're a part of their REACH program, which essentially their venture capitalist fund has invested in Final Offer twice. So we are really, viewed as the future of real estate. Like I look at us as the actual only way we're going to survive is enhancing the experience and infusing technology into our industry and giving consumers and everyone information at their fingertips. From the simplest way of looking at our system, the biggest thing that is missing is getting an alert out when an offer is made. That's just crazy that we don't know today. I mean, how often do you walk in with a buyer? I mean, this happened to me last week. I walk out of a property and it's pending, and I'm like, huh? Like, we're interested. We probably would have paid more than you got. Like, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me? And that seller has no idea that they just left money on the table. Right. And so it's about communication and delivering more automation and more alerts so that we can do our job better. We can actually use technology in our industry, which the boogeyman might be technology, but let me tell you, there's companies out there trying to get rid of us altogether and use technology to do it, where ours is you are required, you have to be a listing agent to even list on our platform, and you must be linked to an agent to make an offer. So if you don't have an offer, that lead goes back to the listing agent. And so, again, everyone needs to just remember that, the boogeyman might feel like technology in general, but like truly it's here to make our lives easier and more efficient. And we are the ones putting the real estate agent front and center.
The Calibrate crew are people that quite literally are out there, thousands of people listening. I had my own company at one point named Calibrate, so I met a lot of these people in person, and I'm glad that you debunked the myth of the boogeyman, because it's important for people to think about the word calibrate quite literally means to test, to model, if you want to use a more current term in industry, and then make adjustments to get a better outcome. That could be for you, the person that is calibrating. It could be for your client. Hopefully it's for both. And so this should be something that people embrace. What I find really funny, Jocelyn, is I started my career in commercial real estate. That's not the funny part, but I migrated into residential because one, my clients and my kids kind of got me into that area. When I had kids in elementary school, I had already had success. I was already an NAR 30 under 30. And I'd have clients that would say, "Hey, what you doing? I know you're in real estate. Like, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that?" And I would use a lot of my commercial real estate tactics to win listings, because some of this stuff commercial real estate agents have been doing for a very long time. Now, it hasn't been as transparent, I will say that, but the whole call for offer, final offer process, multiple bids, and that whole process of like having a starting bid and then working that bid up, I think is really important to also share to the skeptic. In your example, and I'm going to tee you up, I saw you show generically kind of here's where our price was. We had an offer really far below it, and all of a sudden, over the course of a period of time, because there was transparency, that offer starts to get pushed forward. So what's a real life example look like in final offer?
Yeah, and I want to be clear that the listing agent has complete control over how they use our system. I should say listing agent with their seller. Okay. One of those things is that in the most basic way of using our system, you're just using this to collect offers to get an alert out. There is no identifying information about who made the offer and what that offer's for. It says buyer 1, 2, 3, 4. It's registered. Everyone knows it exists, all of that. That's the most basic way of using our system. We also have this cool offer comparison tool and seller net sheet that AI reads them all and plops them in. It's super cool, makes your life easier, really pretty. But that's how a lot of agents just use our system to win listings by having more alerts go out, by saying to the seller, hey, I'm going to drive urgency to your listing more than anybody else. Okay, use it that way. Then maybe if you want to use some of our advanced functionality and tools, you could have a buy it now option. You're essentially putting out the best and final for everyone to see, which I've used when I've had just one offer to try to get it up a little bit. Okay. You could use the feature, the more auction-like feature, like you're mentioning, where a timer begins, everybody knows every offer coming in and has a choice to continually improve their offer or walk away, which that's my favorite thing, is that there's a choice for the first time ever in real estate to keep going or walk away, and know why you won or why you lost, which again, a lot of those questions are, oh my God, I overpaid, when they win in the blind process, or I can't believe I lost. I would have paid more had I just known, or why did I lose? We're answering those questions when agents use that full functionality, which is super fun and cool. Again, people choose how to use our system. We have other cool features that you can choose to use, but in the most traditional, basic way, agents are just winning more business and by getting more alerts out and kind of using the system. Because let me tell you, in a cold market, which a lot of us are in, before final offer, my tactic was I would drop the price $100 just to get an alert out. Because that's it, right? My job's to market a home. Alerts have to go out to be like, hey, everybody, don't forget about me, make an offer today. Versus what we all typically do is you put it on the MLS, you get the stick in the ground, you host some open houses, you sit and you wait for an offer. Our system allows agents to be offensive and strategic and go get that offer.
Well, no wonder they call you the chief knowledge officer, because knowledge is power.
Well,
And I love to think of technology, and this is just my simple way of thinking of things. I think of like caveman Kyle, like, oh, I don't like fire. Fire hurts. Yeah, I burned myself once on fire. And like, how silly is that? Fire helps cook things, help keep you warm, can keep bugs away from the smoke, all this other like benefits. But yes, if you stick your hand in the fire, you'll burn yourself. And so I feel like there's so many agents. It could be generational. It could be not even generational. I'm relatively youthful in my early 40s. I've been a real estate agent for 21 years. I got trained in a different world than exists today. And maybe I'm the bridge to that generational gap of who's used to native technology and who technology wasn't native to. I think that this really, and I'm not saying this just to pump you up, just to pump final offer up. I think that this could really change our industry for good. I think it could help me win more listings personally, and that's why I'm interested in it. I think that our clients can be more satisfied. And what I will say for all technological advances, the more data that's out there, the more that the consumer feels like the choice, they feel like, okay, I have a little sense of control. And then when they realize this is what you do every day, Kyle, this is what you do every day, Jocelyn. I took a little brief trip down memory lane here. I don't want to do it anymore. Like I want you to tell me what this is saying, because the more information that's out there, the candidly, the more they need us.
I totally agree. And like back to psychology for a minute, but in our lives, the most anxious you're ever going to feel in your life is when you feel out of control, right? Like think about, you have a health issue or someone you love has a health issue. You have no control over that. And there's nothing more anxiety provoking than that. Change is scary, and I get that. But let me tell you, it's here and it's coming, and all these other venture capitalists are trying to get rid of us. So getting behind the change that really promotes us, I think, is totally important too. And then I'll give you just one more example of like sort of how you were saying, what our clients need. So like remember back in the day, you'd have to wait for your blood work that you had done to be presented to you. And then they changed, I don't know, maybe let's just say 5 years ago, I don't even really know, where now you get your blood work immediately, the results. And then I go on Google and I start searching and I'm like, I'm dying. I'm going to die tomorrow. Oh my God. And then the doctor calls and they're like, you're dehydrated. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Right. It's like, no matter what, I should have that information. It's my body, my home, same concept in real time, not delivered to me, but I should be getting it in real time. But I need an expert because I don't know what that means because I don't do this every day. That's why I pay a doctor, I pay an accountant, I pay all the people to do the services that I don't want to learn, that are not my expertise. That's your value, but I still need to have that information at my fingertips at all times.
And a great comment that we can hold on to is that the less frustrated our clients are, the more they're going to work with us. And I look at this as this just takes away that block of frustration because whether we think that we're the best or not, and most of the people listening that are calibrating, they want to become a better version of themselves. Guess what? The client still knows the house the best. They've lived in it. They may have raised a family there. They may have had wonderful memories there. They think about Thanksgivings and they think about birthday parties and all of these different trick-or-treaters coming to their house, whatever holiday is your favorite, that it's their home. It's their investment property. And we have, as realtors, I'll blame us, we have the audacity to come step on and start poking. And I've seen this before, and I really try to avoid being this person. But while we're giving them advice, we're unintentionally insulting them as you're talking about staging consults or you need to improve your rents at a property. They would have if they could have. And they need you to have more of a servant heart. And I think this is a platform that says, look, here's the data. We're putting it out there. Everybody knows. So final offer sounds fantastic. I'm not kidding. I am real time considering this. I know our company that I'm a part of now, Kentwood, that acquired Calibrate Real Estate, the brokerage, we're considering it in mass. And so I think that Colorado agents, if you're listening to this, you gotta think about it. Think about it because do you want to be behind the trend? Do you want to have another wave coming that you've missed because you're behind it and your surfboard's not on the top of the wave? Or is that wave going to crush you because all of a sudden you're standing on the beach? Jocelyn, as we near the end of our show, we've got 7, 8 minutes left. I like to get a little personal. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. It's just little popcorn, and then I'll end with our kind of big finale um, question that I ask all of my guests. So technology is something we've been talking about. Final offer is a piece of technology. What sort of tip, trick, tool, technology, hack, whatever you want to call it, is Jocelyn Vas using right now that is absolutely saving you that our audience should hear about besides final offer?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because let me tell you, I'm the least tech savvy person. I don't know how to use social media. Like literally, I have no idea how to use it. So my assistant occasionally will post. So if you follow me, you're not going to see anything exciting. Um, Gosh, I don't know if this is considered technology, but I got into reading recently and quit TV because I was very addicted to reality TV and realized that was the only thing that calmed my brain down. So I quit TV and I got a Kindle. So if that's considered technology, that has been very kind to me. And it's like my little baby that I sleep with every night and read off of. So if that's considered technology, but if we're talking about in my business, I would say that it's really only final offer because everything I need in a day is built in there now, but I chose to build that in to make my life easier. So I live in that. But otherwise, that's like the extent of my technology. It's pretty weak.
Well, we've spoken at length about final offer. Let's talk about the Kindle. I believe readers are leaders,
Mm.
and I have gleaned so much from mentors I've never met before, some of which I've had the blessing of having on this podcast. We've had some big names. Rory Vaden is one of them, John Acuff, Mike Michalowicz, author of Profit First. I mean, these are people that I read their books before I ever got to interview them. And one of our guests, John Acuff, I'll focus in on a second, teaches this hack for people that are trying to read more. You get the Kindle and you get the audiobook. And a lot of times authors will give you free in a bundle and you listen to the audiobook like a podcast on 1.25, 1.5 speed while you're reading because your brain processes what it sees faster, but you're having someone narrate at a little bit elevated speed that's not annoying and you actually retain the information better because from a psychological standpoint, what you're reading matches what you're hearing, and it doubles down on that. So that's a little bit of an amplifier to your current hack right now.
Whoa, that is something I need to like dive into and test. Yeah, that is a little mind blowing. I wasn't expecting that. But yeah,
Well, and I love to take the credit, but John Acuff, which John's written 8 bestsellers, maybe 10 by now. Fantastic. I think it was episode 175. Jocelyn, back to you, not about John, but Jocelyn. My favorite question, asking all thought leaders, asking anybody that's set out to change the real estate industry, what's the advice that you wish you knew when you were 22? Now that you've had some experiences, you've been a successful real estate agent in the DC greater metro area, you became a psychologist because you saw a need, and now you are on the foreground of final offer. So I've got to imagine that there's some advice and some learnings that you've had over the years that if you could talk to 22-year-old Jocelyn, or if you have someone you're mentoring that's 22, what's the advice you're giving that person?
you know, what I didn't do at 22 in my career that I wish I had was I did not put myself out there whatsoever from a marketing perspective. I solely relied on, and I started at 21 right out of college, similar to you likely, and I really relied on family and friends to be my clients. And that was brutal because every time someone did not work with me that was a family or friend, I was devastated, crushed and devastated. And what I learned at probably like much later in my career, but my career took off from it, was, light marketing and communication to remind people that I'm a real estate agent and I'm great when I started doing that, I became really successful. And I really regret not doing that at 22, putting myself out there a little bit and feeling more confident in myself to be like, work with me, right? Versus waiting for people to come to me, which happens now, thank God. But that's the whole process of the sphere and the cycle is, just put yourself out there in a way that makes you feel comfortable with like a regular touch point that provides value. To me, it's always about value. I don't want to say the same thing. Here are my stats for the year, just listed, just sold. Like, and that's why I get behind final offers messaging because I use it to provide value. And that's why I became a therapist. Everything is around how I can add value to my clients so that they want to work with me. Not that they feel like that they have to work with me. They want to work with me. So I wish I'd started that early. I'd probably be like a beast in real estate right now. Not that I'm not decent, but I would be, starting much younger in that sense.
Well, there's a couple of resources for the listener. One of my favorites, and I would love to, if someone's connected to this person, I would love to interview Larry Kendall of the group and Ninja Selling. Ninja Selling is a great book. I feel like there's two sort of cornerstone books for real estate agents. Everyone thinks of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, but Ninja Selling, some very practical, how you handle a conversation on a sideline. If you have kids that are in youth sports and someone hears that you're a real estate agent, because it's not that the question, we want to avoid that question or that it's not going to happen, it's how you're strategically responding to it. And I think the fact that you're even tuned to that was something you could have done earlier means that you're already doing better than you used to. And I think sometimes the awareness of, I really should have been more thoughtful about this, but I'm going to be more thoughtful going forward. That's what I hear in all of that, Jocelyn. And this has been a mountaintop experience for me. How do people connect with you? What's your favorite way, if they've got more questions about final offer, if they have more questions just about real estate in the DC, Maryland, Virginia, we'll put in Delaware too. If they have
Put in
questions about
Delaware. Why
Delaware.
not? I have a referral. Okay, I have to look up my name on Instagram is Realtor Jocelyn Vas. I check my messages and go on Instagram once a week. So if you message me there, Realtor Jocelyn Vas, I will get back to you once a week because I'm trying to get screens out of my life a little bit, or the unhealthy ones. Or you can go to finaloffer.com and click the contact us button and they'll redirect it to me if you put my name in there.
Jocelyn, thanks for being a part of our show. For the Calibrate crew out there that's listening, the silent thousands, I know because I get your DMs, I get your contact to our website. Send us an email at info@calibrate.re.com. For everybody out there listening, I'm Kyle Malnati, your gracious host and leader. Thank you, Jocelyn Vas, for joining us. Thank you. Check out Final Offer. And as I love to say, we will see you around the neighborhood. Thanks, everybody.